Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make this Mangu con los tres golpes recipe, but make it gourmet. I already have a traditional recipe up on the blog, but I really wanted to make a elevated version of this Dominican classic breakfast dish. So the first thing that we're going to do is peel the plantain. This plantain has been sitting on my counter for a couple days, so it does have quite a few black spots, and it's going to be harder to peel than a regular fresh green plantain from the store. But I cut off enough of those ugly pieces, and then I just chopped it so it could all fit in my small pot, and then I just boiled that with some seasonings. So mango is my favorite breakfast recipe, Dominican breakfast recipe. It is so good. It has every element that you would want in the plate for flavors. You have the cheese, you have the onion, you have the salami, and you have the mango, and of course you cannot forget the avocado. Fun fact, when I made this whole recipe I forgot the avocado. I was so upset. But and it's funny, I had avocado that I had bought specifically to add for this recipe, but it just slipped my mind. I was making a couple of the recipes that night, but anyways, it still came out looking good. But when you look at the picture, you can just tell that something is missing. Something is. Now, the reason why this recipe came out so good and I decided to share it with all of you guys is because really, mango is something that when I had it growing up, it was always very chunky for the most part. It wasn't up until a couple years ago when I would eat it out at restaurants and things like that, where I would get a soft, non-lumpy mango, and it was that itself was life-changing for sure. It's like having lumpy mashed potatoes your whole life and then finally having the smoothest mashed potato ever. It's just like it's you just can't compare. So when I did this and I did the technique that I'm gonna be doing with the plantain later, it was like my mind was blown times two, because it was just like the smoothest consistency for mango. So now I'm taking my Dominican frying cheese. This is yellow cheese. I'm cutting one piece in half because I want like slithers of it. And for this, we're actually going to be doing a really cool technique as well. Usually for the cheese, you would just fry it in some cooking oil and make it crispy on the outside, kind of like browned, and then that would be it. And then, you would eat it like that. With this recipe, I wanted to elevate that a little bit. I still wanted that crispy exterior, but I wanted a different crunch to it. So I breaded it, and you're going to see how I did that in just a few. In the meantime, I'm taking this piece of salami that I stole from my grandma's fridge because these salamis, they're expensive and they're really big for one person to finish. And I don't like buying things and then wasting them. So I just asked my grandma for a piece. And instead of cutting it round, as you've probably only ever seen it, because that's the only way I've ever seen this salami cut, I'm cutting it from the side, and I'm going to be making small slithers with this as well. This is just going to give a different vibe for the plate. It's not going to be this big sliver of salami that you have to cut or bite into. No, these are just bites of salami that you can just get one bite of everything in one forkful, and oh my god, I'm having flashbacks. This recipe was so good. Okay, so now I'm taking the onion. Red onion, 110%, no substitutions, no alterations. You need a red onion to do this. I'm cutting it into thin slices, and then this is gonna marinate in some vinegar, and then that's gonna be going into the frying pan as well. Having a marinate in the vinegar is really gonna bring all those flavors out even more. Now for the cheese, we aren't just going to be using any old breadcrumbs from the store. We're going to be using freshly grinded breadcrumbs. I have a piece of baguette laying around probably every week or so, a dried up piece, because I like to buy baguettes, and like I said, these are big things for one person to finish. So I don't finish them, they dry up, and then I make breadcrumbs. Everyone wins. No waste around here. So here I am grinding up my breadcrumbs nice and thin. I like to grind them up for a little while because I don't like those big chunks. I need it to be pretty thin, at least at the bottom. Usually the top will have some chunky parts, but at the bottom you'll get a nice fine texture. So now I am cracking my egg for my breading station. I'm going to mix that yolk up, and then I'm going to be adding some salt and pepper, and that is going to be put aside, and then I'm going to go into my breadcrumbs and season that as well. With the breadcrumbs, I'm only adding some Italian seasoning, just to give it that, traditional breadcrumb flavor that you would get at the store. Because you also do want to season all of your layers. That's something that I've learned recently. All your layers of cooking, make sure they're all seasoned. So here we are with the blender, putting in the now very soft plantain. You see, I did have to cut a lot out because a lot of it was browning, but we got more than enough for the recipe, 2 servings. And now I put in some butter, some salt and pepper, and we're gonna add some water to that to make it nice and smooth. And then we're gonna pop the lid and blend that until it is the smoothest little thing you've ever seen. I'm talking like a good 2 minutes on the blender, just whipping up and making sure all those lumps are nice and smooth. And you're gonna be so surprised with the difference this makes. Now we're gonna be breading the cheese. I am thoroughly coating the cheese in my egg mixture, and then that's gonna go into the bread, and then that's gonna be fried over some neutral oil. I like to use vegetable oil, but nowadays I don't recommend any oil. Who knows what we should be using. And for whatever reason, I don't have this on footage, the frying of this cheese. I do have every other step, but for whatever reason, I don't know what happened with my camera. It just didn't get that shot. So you will see it at the end during plating, but right now, this is as much as you're gonna get for the cheese. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna be able to see it get nice and crispy. Very sad, but it is what it is. Now, last step for the cheese is this last coat, and then we're gonna be moving on to the salami. I pretty much just plopped it into the oil. I also don't have the beginning footage of this either, but put it into the oil and cook that for a couple minutes, and once it is crispy, you can take it right out. Then the next thing that we're going to do is put the egg in the oil, and this is going to fry. This is going to give it such a different texture than if you just fry it with a little bit of butter. It's going to puff up, it's going to get nice and fried. Oh, it has the best flavor this way, especially when you cook it as one of the last things. All the things you cooked before obviously stay in that oil and give it some flavor, and the egg just collects that. So then I'm going to be using a spoon to pour some of that hot oil on the top of the egg, because it's very hard to flip. In my case, I do want to keep this yolk intact because I do like eating it that way, especially with mangu, but this is obviously, it's your preference what you want to do with your egg, but I like to eat it this way, especially with mangu, and I wouldn't want to risk breaking the yolk. So the egg usually cooks pretty quickly, especially if you're going to be doing what I'm doing with the spoon and you're not going to be flipping it, but you just want to make sure that it is cooked all the way inside. I hate it when I cook an egg and parts of it are just undercooked. It's like the worst thing ever. So make sure that it is nicely cooked. It should be about 4 minutes. And then we're going to be because I did all that with the oil, some of the little bits from the cheese and the salami kind of got on the egg, so I'm just making sure that all that stuff is off and just going over with a couple more spoonfuls. I'm going to be taking this off of the stove very soon, and then the last step is going to be putting in the onions with the vinegar. And this part can be a little dangerous because obviously putting anything into hot oil is going to cause for a little reaction. So I like to usually at this point when I have it at the last step of everything, I just turn off the heat. Everything is very nice and hot. I don't need the onions to cook that much. I will just turn off the heat and that'll be that. So here I am. I poured the vinegar in first, and then I'm going to be putting the onions in. And this is going to be cooking for probably 60 seconds, if not less. You just want to see the onions get a little flimsy and soft. You don't want it to brown in any way. And also, all of that oil and vinegar is also some flavor that you're going to be pouring. Not all of it, depending on how much oil you have, but you're going to be pouring some of that onto the mangu because all of that is flavor, like I said. So we're going to be moving that around a little bit. Like I said, waiting until it gets nice and soft, seasoning it a little bit with salt, and then it is ready to be assembled. Are you guys ready for this? Because the presentation of this gourmet mangu recipe is killer. I'm to this day so upset that I forgot that avocado, because if I had that avocado, oh my god, would it be a different story. So anyways, I'm just taking the onion off. This is how it should look. I guess it does get a little bit bright pink colored, so look out for that when you're making it. And here I am putting in the mangu. Oh my god, it looks perfect. It looks so soft. Oh my god. Okay, so putting in the mangu, and I'm going to use the spoon to make a little swoosh. And you're going to see me do that because that's probably just as much as I need. I'm going to use the spoon to just push it to one side, and it's going to create a little swoosh, which is really a good tip when you're plating. The next step here is going to be the egg, so I am just going to be laying that on top of the mangu, and then I have my crispy cheese that you guys haven't seen. This is how it came out. Oh my god, it was delicious. Probably my favorite part about this whole thing after the mangu. And then I'm just going to be putting a couple of those salami bits on the other side. It's all about symmetry, guys. And then I'm going to be putting that onion on top of the egg. And that's as much as I've got because I forgot to put the avocado. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. The full recipe will be linked down below. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.